What's up? Welcome in. Hoge Jahns back with you. And Papa John's is here.
I'm back. I like that. Herb's been calling me that for a while now, since we had our daughter, since John's kid number 4 came into this world.
Yeah, I just never heard that before, and I loved it. It's so good.
Terrible pizza, but a decent nickname.
Yeah, good guy. You. Not the other one, apparently.
Yeah.
Not that I know him, but yeah, there's some issues there, right? He's like off the commercials now and stuff.
I think so.
Yeah. But welcome back. You were on vacation. How was it? Did you have decent weather?
It was beautiful. I'll tell you where I went to. We went to the Smoky Mountains.
Yeah.
The Gatlinburg area.
Cool.
Decent drive from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Stopped in Louisville on the way down.
Okay.
Went to the Louisville Sluggers factory. Got a little tour. And on the way back, we stayed in Cincinnati. Saw some Reds-Phillies baseball.
Oh.
Kyle Schwarber
should be on either of the two Chicago baseball teams, and he's not.
Probably.
Yeah.
My sons were excited to see him, though. It was a good vacation, good getaway. Smoky Mountains. What do they call it? Smoky Mountains? Smoky Mountains.
Yeah.
There we go. I got to get back in the swing of things here.
Did you scout any Appalachian State players while you're up there?
I did not.
Okay.
I actually did a good job staying off my phone and away from football for a bit, which is hard to do, Adam Hogue, but it felt good to get away.
Unfortunately, my only memory of the Smoky Mountains was when I was a kid and we were driving through them, and my little sister, who was probably only 3 or 4 at the time, maybe 5, I don't know, threw up in the car.
Oh,
because like those are some windy roads in there in the mountains.
Yeah,
she got car
like
sick.
that.
So so I haven't really been there as an adult, but it sounds awesome.
Yeah, check it out. Decent drive from Chicago.
Well, I'm glad you got that time away, and we are into crunch time with this draft. Just about 10 days away. Now, a week from Thursday, had a couple good shows while you were gone. It was awesome having Herb Howard with the Papa John's nickname jump in last week. And Kevin had fun with that mock draft experiment he did with the public mock drafts.
Yes, he did.
And we broke all that down on Thursday. So we are going to jump back in it today, though, with Dane Brugler joining us shortly. He has his big 7-round mock draft that's out. So it includes every Bears pick. And just a good opportunity for us to go through some of the prospects, especially in the later rounds that maybe we haven't talked to him about. Now, he's been on the show many times in the last few months as the Bears went from having the number 1 pick to the number 9 pick. And of course, he has the Jalen Carter mocked at pick number 9. So we'll discuss that with him as well. But before we do that, I thought yesterday was a significant day at Halas Hall that, for understandable reasons, it's been a few months now coming, sort of came and went without much fanfare once it was all said and done. But the Bears officially have a new team president and CEO. And for all the years that we've been covering this team and well beyond that, the amount of conversations we've had about, change at the top and what needs to happen to get this franchise going in the right direction, it happened. It's done. Now, Ted Phillips is still around in a consulting role, it sounds like, but Kevin Warren, who's been prepping for this since he was introduced back in January, is officially on board with his first day as team president and CEO yesterday.
What time did he arrive at Halas Hall?
It looks like
I saw the video. It was still dark outside.
It was 5:47 a.m.
5:47 a.m. Okay.
No, that's when you got to get your work in before everybody starts bothering you.
I've heard he's an early morning guy. But wow.
And he's commuting from the city.
Yes. Well, the Kennedy's a mess. So
right.
If you want to be traffic, I can completely understand that, because the Kennedy Expressway it's a parking lot. It's a parking lot, like starting at like 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
So if he wants an early work day, he wants to get to Halas Hall, set up his office, I'm all for it.
Yeah, that didn't surprise me at all.
No,
because I'm thinking maybe a 4:30 riser, 5 a.m. in the car. Probably wouldn't have traffic at that point.
None.
And then, from all back when I lived in the city, that was about the commute. You could roll in there at 5:47.
And he's living downtown, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
he's not going to take the Brandon Marshall route where he rents a special bus where he can watch film in the bus. Remember that? Brandon Marshall's shuttle bus that showed up.
Right. And he could fly to New York every week to do a show on his off day. And those were the good old days. No, but he did tell us at the owners meetings, Kevin Warren, that they probably eventually would get a place in Lake Forest, or at least somewhere in the area. But for now, yeah, that's it just, I don't know. It's just kind of, it stuck with me yesterday. It's like, for as much conversation as there's been about this over the years, like, here it is. Like, it just sort of happened.
Just one video.
Yeah.
On Twitter in the dark. It's probably because he's been involved.
Yeah.
We talked with the owners meetings. Obviously there's a transition going on, but he's been engaged in the process more than just like learning things. He's been involved in meetings with Ryan Bowles, George McCaskey, Ted Phillips. Obviously he took an active role at the NFL owners meetings where they have all sorts of meetings. So I get that maybe the significance of the moment of the first starting day, like his first official day, like it's worn off by now.
Yeah, but it's also the moment of the Ted Phillips era officially coming to a close too, and all this stadium stuff that almost seems like it's been on hold for a few months since the closing, because obviously this is a huge item that's falling on Kevin Warren's desk, and now they go to work and get started. So it'll be very interesting to see, I guess, even over the next few months, if there are changes or, even smaller things that come out here and there. But Kevin Warren officially, that era has begun with the Chicago Bears, which I think is exciting. So just wanted to make sure that we stopped and paused on this podcast to acknowledge it, because to me, it's a big deal. Also a big deal, the players were back yesterday.
Yep.
Started the offseason program. And I guess that's that. They're back. Because,
well, like a guy like Justin Fields has never left, though. Like, I think he's gone down to Florida and Georgia to do some quarterback training. He's brought some receivers and whatnot. But from everything I've heard, the guy's like living at Halas Hall. Not literally, but he's there a lot, which is what you want to hear.
Right. But a lot of the players do get away and are in other places.
My favorite picture of the players arriving was Eddie Jackson, and the look of disgust on his face as he walked through snow flurries.
Well, it is kind of funny because last week was, and I honestly was thinking of you and kind of felt bad for you because it's the greatest April weather I think we've ever had our entire lives, and you were not here.
Yeah, but if I was here, it'd be more of a staycation, which isn't a real vacation.
Yeah.
I had wonderful weather in Tennessee.
Well, that's good. That's good. But like, I had to laugh because last week was so nice, and then the players come back on Monday, and it's back to winter. It was literally, I drove back from essentially Minnesota, the Wisconsin-Minnesota border yesterday in snow.
Wait, are you one of those vacation guys where you want the place where you're leaving to be miserable weather so you feel better about where you are, like on the beach?
I don't need it to be miserable. I need it to not be better than where I'm at.
I've been happened to a lot of people going to Florida.
Yeah. I've been in Arizona multiple times, whether spring training or vacation or owners meetings, where it's a 49-degree day for some reason, and you check the weather and it's 53 in Chicago. Yeah, and you're like, come on.
That's annoying. There's actually like some game weekends that we have that covering this team, but I get you. But no, I was happy you guys had happy weather here.
It was happy weather.
It was happy weather.
I actually played some golf last week.
Oh,
believe it or not.
I did not get that done in Tennessee. And we were like on a golf course. So I woke up every morning watching these guys just hack away. Wishing that was me slicing the ball to the other fairway.
Oh, that's torture. That is definitely torture. All right. Well, this episode is still going to be mostly about the draft, and we're excited to have Dane Brugler back on the show to go through his 7-round mock draft and all the Bears picks. So let's do that now. All right, make sure you're following him on Twitter, and if you're not, you're already doing it wrong. At DP Brugler, the beast is out, which we talked a lot about last week. And once again, Dane, congrats on the project being done at this point. We always enjoy it, not only from an entertainment standpoint, but really as a resource too, as we all go through our draft coverage. So congrats again, and thanks for jumping on with us today.
Yeah, of course. No, I appreciate it. And that's really what the number one goal of the guide is for me, is to make it the ultimate resource guide. It's if you know nothing about a player, being able to flip the page 201 and find everything about his background, all his testing information, strengths, weaknesses. Even if we don't see the rankings similar eye to eye on every single player, the fact that you can use this as a resource guide, that's above all what I hope people take away from the draft guide. So yeah, testing information for almost 1,900 players, reports for over 400 players. So nothing quite like the draft guide out there. So hopefully people check it out.
What's the feeling like for you when it's gone, like out of your hands and everybody else's?
A lot of mixed feelings, because on one hand, I can't wait to share it with everybody, because I've been working on this for over a year. And so to be able to finally share it with the masses is an awesome feeling. But at the same time, I start to second guess myself, like, oh man, why'd I have him as my 22nd edge rusher and not 21st? Or, like little stuff like that. It's like, well, it's because it's so easy to do that. It's so easy to, there's always one more tape you can watch or one more source you can talk to. Things like that, or just making sure that typos, things like that. So there's a level of vulnerability too, because you're sharing what you've been working on for so long, and so like one little typo and you feel like, oh shoot, I should have caught that. But no, it's above all a lot of excitement on my part to be able to share it and then talk about it with everybody. So, and again, I hope people don't read this and say, oh, I need to change my rankings now based off of what Dane has. No, I don't want that at all. I just hope people look at it as a resource and helps make their draft coverage even better.
What struck me there is like, I've talked to scouts and like executives, and like they feel like the same way as this is being finalized too. Like I've talked to guys out of Halas Hall where like, we did some extra work like the night before the draft on a few guys. Yeah. Like what do you mean extra work?
There's always another stone that you can unturn, right? There's always something else. And the draft is one big information highway coming and going. You try to get as much as you can, but that's why we have misses. It's why we have busts in the first round, is because maybe you just didn't get quite enough. I mean, there were the draft guide. We finished the day before Easter, so that Saturday night, and I mean, up until that Friday, I was doing reports because there was Montana State had they're one of the last pro days every year, and they had a kid, Ty Okada, safety, a nickel safety, who just blew it up. And I'm like, okay, he didn't make the cut based off just his tape, but with these pro day numbers, he's definitely I need to write him up. And so he was the last report that I did, and it's like, okay. All this information coming at you, you need to make sure you're doing your homework. And it's not just the draft. It's, 3-4 years from now when you might sign one of these guys in free agency, or, I always find myself coming back to past draft guides to, did this guy have, he's been banged up with a foot injury. Did he have durability in college? And, what was his testing like? All that type of thing. So it's interesting to go back and look at past players as well.
Yeah, I got my old beasts right here. Actually, keep them right here on the bookshelf for that exact reason. When it comes around in free agency, we hear Ryan Poles has talked about that a few times about how much they go. You have to go back to the draft evaluations. Also, real quickly before we get these picks, I always love just like the little nuggets you have in there. Like some matter, some quite frankly don't. Like some random nicknames, but they're still fun. Or you find out like I knew David Blau's wife was in the Olympics because I remember that being in the Olympics. I had no idea she's the sister of Christian Gonzalez, though.
Right, exactly, and that's it's always fascinating to learn about those type of connections. Like like Christian Gonzalez, like his dad, being from Colombia, being a 6'7" semi-pro basketball player, and
Yeah.
his sisters being these track athletes. It's no wonder where he got his athletic genes from. Or like guy like Jalen Hyatt, the Tennessee receiver. His dad was a professional cyclist. His mom was an All-American high school track athlete. No wonder where he got his wheels from. So, learning about the background and all these different things. Evan Hull, Northwestern running back, learning that his fiance is the sister of Jermaine Johnson, who was a first round pick last year. And you find all these different connections, and it's a lot of fun to really delve into that and unearth some of these lesser known facts that, and to your point, a lot of them, it's not like it's going to change how you grade them, but they are interesting. And anything that I find interesting on a player, I'm going to include in the report.
Your 7-round mock draft came out on Monday, and you had 10 picks for the Bears. But before we get to that, how long does that take you? Because even doing like the Bears draft would take me like a good day and a half, because I overthink picks. I move guys around and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, how long does a full 7-round mock draft for every single team take?
A long time. I mean, I 3-4 days of just focusing on nothing but that. And it's because I want to make it as realistic as possible. And obviously you can't, because I didn't do any trades. Obviously we're going to have trades at every round of the draft. Right. So it's hard enough to do all the picks. I wasn't about to start doing trades in there as well. But for me, I find it really interesting and beneficial for me, because it really forces me to look at the needs of each team, really focus on what trends are for each organization, each general manager, each head coach. What do we know? Certain teams have certain thresholds when it comes to size or speed at different positions. And so really buckling down and understanding those, focusing on 30 visits, focusing on, team interviews, just the buzz that I'm hearing, talking with a scout and saying, hey, just heads up, there's the Seahawks took this guy out for dinner before his pro day. And, that's not something that is out there, but I log that away, keep that in mind. And then, in my in mock draft, it all of a sudden, pops up, and who knows, maybe the dinner went terribly and the Seahawks aren't going to draft this player, but at least I know there's a connection there. And so try to make it as realistic as possible. Not every team was happy with their return, their haul, but realism was more the goal than anything with this mock draft.
Or maybe the prospect booked the reservation under the name Jim McMahon, and then
James McMahon.
That's what it was, James McMahon, and then the Bears fell in love with Mitch Trubisky. You never know. It could go one or two ways. That's what happens. All right, let's start in the 7th round. The Bears have 2 7th-round picks. Your last pick for the Bears, I actually really enjoy this player, Jose Ramirez from Eastern Michigan, who, if you're watching any or consuming any action, just extremely, extremely productive at Eastern Michigan, especially the last 2 seasons. And then we'll group these together so we can get through a little faster. But the other 7th-round pick at number 218 is Ronnie Hickman, the safety from Ohio State. Tell us about these 2 guys.
Yeah, Jose Ramirez, not to be confused with the Guardians third baseman, third base all-star. Ramirez is fun because he's 6'2", 242, so a little undersized. But you're drafting him to be a sub rusher. You're drafting him to give you that juice off the edge. And I mean, in the 7th round, I mean, this is the type of guy you look for as that type of role, where you might not trust him on rundowns, early downs, but you add him to the rotation, work him into the mix. And, he's a guy that will play with his hair on fire. The type of motor, the type of hustle you're getting with this player. And you love the production. The last 2 years, almost 30 tackles for loss combined. So a lot of production with what he brings to the field. And then with Ronnie Hickman, the pre-draft process hasn't gone great for him. Injured after one day at the Senior Bowl, combine, pro day, wasn't able to do full workouts. And so the process hasn't gone well, but he's still a draftable player. And you feel like you're going to bet on the traits, the speed that he offers. I think he's probably best as kind of in a robber role. But special teams is where I think he's really going to shine. And so to get him in the 7th round, love the value at that point.
All right, so we're obviously working from back to front here if you're just catching on and listening. So in the 5th round at 148, you have Kobe Turner, defensive tackle, Wake Forest. At 136, still in the 5th round, you have Chase Brown, running back, Illinois. Kobe Turner, you end his evaluation with this. He projects as a rotational 3 technique in the NFL with potential to be more. So, of course, I can see the Bears connections here. So take us through this pick.
And, obviously not to give away the first pick, but this is kind of like to go hand in hand with that, where, you take a big swing with that first pick. And then here later on day 3, you're taking more of you have a better idea of what you're getting. And, he might not have the high end traits as the big swing, but I think you have a better idea. You have a good feeling for what he brings to your defensive line. And, this is a guy that, fascinating backstory. You talk about like the backgrounds. He wasn't a big time recruit out of high school because he's really big into music. He didn't go to all these recruiting camps as a junior in high school because, he was in chorus and he was focused on his music when he wasn't playing football. And so his cousin ended up getting recruited by Richmond, FCS level Richmond. And they, noticed this big guy in the kitchen and were like, "Hey, who's this?" "Oh, that's my cousin." Interested in a potential walk-on opportunity. And so he took it and quickly earned a scholarship and transferred to Wake Forest for his final year and played pretty well. So this is a quick, disruptive player that has yet to play his best football. So I think adding him in the 5th round, one of the better non-combine guys this year. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
The conductor, right?
That's
his nickname.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
That's good.
And the running back out of Illinois.
Yeah,
the zone obviously played in a zone run offense or zone scheme offense. Obvious connections again for the Bears.
Right. And, proximity is just the cherry on top. He can play in that Illinois weather. Is 5'9.5", 210, tested really well, 4.43 in the 40-yard dash. And he's a proven workhorse. He's wrapped in clear wrapping paper. There's no real projection. What you're getting with this guy. Compact, built low to the ground. Not a power runner per se, but he runs with balance. He does a nice job pressing the hole and then, really hitting the jets so he can make guys miss. And him and his twin brother, Sydney, both these guys are maniacal about working out and keeping their body, their body is their temple type of deal. So, I think he fits from a football character standpoint, and then just a guy you add your running back rotation and feel good what he gives you as a pass catcher and as a runner.
Quickly, Hogue, before you get to the 4th round, I like the selection of a running back, and I think the Bears have actually done a lot of homework on running backs this year. So even with the moves in free agency, I think running back is very much on the table day 2, day 3. Just saying. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, and I think as Dane well knows, there's a ton of them that you can get from anywhere from the 2nd to 5th round and probably feel pretty good about them being even early contributors, right, Dane?
Yeah, no, and I think that's the appeal with Brown is that he might not have this huge ceiling, but he's ready to step in from day 1 and be a contributor. So we're talking about the 5th round at this point. And if Chase Brown's still around at that point, I think you feel great about that pick.
All right, let's talk about your pick in the 4th round at 133, which is Luke Whippler, the center from Ohio State. Why has he been so polarizing? Because I don't know. I feel like he has, man. I feel like I've seen some places put him in the 2nd round. You got him here in the 4th. Even when I look at him, I'm like, yeah, I don't know about this guy. So, why did you settle on the 4th round here to the Bears?
I think that if you look at Garrett Bradbury, right, with the Vikings, and he was drafted in the 1st round, obviously has not played up to being a 1st round pick. But if Garrett Bradbury is drafted in the 4th round, we're looking at Garrett Bradbury in a very different light. And I think Luke Whippler, there are some comparisons there. He's 6'3", 303, center only, fits best in that zone scheme, athleticism, can get on the move. Maybe because it's not a great center class, maybe a team would jump on him on day 2 and say the 3rd round. I think it's more likely he falls to the 4th, and if he does, I think you add him to your center rotation, a guy that go into camp with an open competition. If Luke Whippler can win, he's still a young guy, still just gonna be 21 years old when he's drafted. If he's able to win the job out of camp, great. That's awesome. But I think because he is a center only, doesn't really give you a ton of versatility. He's a zone scheme guy. And the power is, it is what it is. He's more of an athletic mover. So, if you compare him again to like a Garrett Bradbury and understanding that's what you're getting, I think you feel good about him in the 4th round, where 2nd, 3rd round might be a little too early.
One more pick in the 4th round, 103, Xavier Hutchinson, wide receiver, Iowa State. I think it's important that the Bears add another wide receiver. I know they just re-signed Dante Pettis, Equanimous St. Brown. They traded for DJ Moore. They drafted Velus Jones Jr. last year, but adding another receiver through the draft just feels, I don't know, important for the Bears. So Hutchinson's your 16th best receiver. What's he bring for the Bears?
Not a burner. That's not what you're getting with this guy. But if you want a reliable, strong-handed receiver, pass catcher, that's what he gives you. Really, really productive over his 3 years at Iowa State. He can do a little bit something after the catch. He's not just a possession guy. Can make guys miss. The competitiveness that he plays with, that's what I think sells me and scouts that went in and looked at him. For a guy that set the Big 12 record for most catches, that shouldn't be overlooked. That's a big deal. So not a guy that's going to blow you away with his twitch, with his pure speed, but he's well-rounded, can play inside, can play outside, and just a guy that here at this point in the draft, you feel good about adding to your rotation and being able to step in from day one and give you solid reps.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like when wide receivers have that much production, I mean, they got to be doing something right.
Yeah, in 3 years, and only 3 years. So I mean, he was a pro playing college ball. There's not a ton of mystery with this player. So yeah, he's the body control, the physicality that he plays with. He knows how to get open. He does have. I don't want to make it sound like he's a slug out there, because he's not. He does have decent speed. He ran 4.53 in the 40-yard dash. He does have some short area quickness. But above all, it's the ability to go up and get the football, be that physical presence, and a guy that can block as well. So I think he would fit what this team could be looking for, both character-wise and on the wide receiver depth chart.
All right. Derek Hall at number 64 as we move into these 4 picks that we've spent so much time talking over the last few months for the Bears on the first couple days of the draft. So you have Derek Hall from Auburn, edge rusher here. How would he fit what the Bears are doing in their defense, and why'd you put him here?
He's an easy guy to like because he's an urgent pass rusher. The reason we're not talking about him as a 1st-round pick or even like a lock top 50 guy is he doesn't have a ton of counters. If he was able to do that, if he was able to tap into more sequencing with his rush, then we'd be talking about him much higher. But he is a hard charger. He's going to attack. And there's value in that. A guy that just, pins his ears back and goes. And we talk about, the backstories and, how much fun that could be and how interesting it is. I mean, Derek Hall, he was born 4 months premature. He was not supposed to make it. The doctors told his mother, quality of life is probably going to be nothing. And he was able to far exceed those expectations, both on the field and off. So a great story with Derek Hall. Character's off the charts. I think that's also something that will appeal to this team. Another guy where you feel like you're getting professional, where, there's not a ton of projection. You feel like you know what you're understanding of a guy that can play the run, can play the pass, and he's going to give you all that he has, all the motor, all the hustle, snap in, snap out. And again, not a guy you have to hide in the run game as well. So he's not just a pass rush specialist. He's a well-rounded player.
Okay, then in the 2nd round at 61, you have Julius Brents, cornerback, Kansas State. At 53, you have Matthew Bergeron, offensive tackle from Syracuse. I could tell you he's definitely on the Bears' radar. He's one of their top 30 visits. Bergeron was. What are they getting in Brent and Bergeron? And then, like, this range of the draft, the Bears have 3 picks, like in a 12-pick range from 53 to 64. And 64 most years is another second-round pick. So beyond these players, like, what does this area of the draft kind of look like?
And it's tough to answer that now because we're just not sure how those first 40 picks are going to play out, right? Or first 50 picks. It will be really interesting after Thursday night when next Thursday night when the dust settles and we kind of reset and look at who's available now in the second round. How many did we have that run on receivers? Did we have that run on corners? How did all that shake out? I think that'll, the edge rushers are a position where we could see a lot of those guys go early. So that'll be interesting. Which offensive linemen are left? Because that first tier of offensive linemen, the Bears will be in the mix at number 9 if they wanted to go with Skoronski or Paris Johnson or Broderick Jones, whoever, Darnell Wright. But then that second tier where DeJuan Jones and Matthew Bergeron and guys like that, do they make it to where the Bears are going to be picking? That'll be kind of the intrigue I think that the Bears are looking at with Brent's supersized corner. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. Really athletic. His 3-cone at the combine was unreal. Speed was good enough. My issue with Brent's is, throw on the Big 12 championship game against TCU, and he really struggled to find the football. That was something that really bothered me on his tape. But when you're that size and you can match up, I can understand why teams are going to look at Juju Brents and say, hey, we'll take our chances. He has that type of matchup potential. So, somewhere in that second round, probably where he's going to come off the board. And then with Matthew Bergeron, another zone-based guy. Some teams like him at guard. Other teams believe he's a true tackle. I think if you're the Bears, you try him at right tackle, and he's got a little bit of experience there. At worst, you kick him inside. He's a capable body that you're adding to the mix at offensive line. And I think that's above all what you want. Someone that you can trust, someone that is checks a lot of boxes athletically, character-wise. Matthew Bergeron, I think fits like a glove at that point in the draft.
Yeah, especially with that giant hole the Bears still have at right tackle.
Right.
That would make a lot of sense if they don't address it in the first round. And a quick note on Brent's too, because his relative athletic score, which we know the Bears do care about these things, scored at 9.99 out of 10. I mean, he's right at the top that you could possibly be with that size too. So
34-inch arms. Yeah. I mean, guys like that just aren't walking down the street. So, that's why even though the tape was a little up and down, he's going to go because of those traits you're talking about.
Yeah. So, and then the idea of Bergeron in the second round, definitely hitting on all the needs here, Dane. Now let's talk about perhaps one of their biggest, if not the biggest, that big engine they need in the Bears defense, as Flus likes to put it, that 3 technique, the engine of the Bears defensive scheme that they really don't have as you look at their depth chart right now. So you went ahead and did it. Jalen Carter, number 9 overall. There's a couple different angles that we can go with. I want to start with this one though, because this has been quite a roller coaster trying to go from just an amazing player to watch on tape, which we had, all season and into the national championship game, into everything that happened with post-championship game, the news that came out, the combine, the whispers that were coming out even before that. How did you put that all together to make a judgment, which at the end of the day, I believe you have them number 3 overall, right? Yeah. In terms of prospects, like you're still betting on Jalen Carter here.
Yeah, and obviously we're at a disadvantage, all of us on the outside looking in. We can't bring him to the facility and really get to know him better. My interactions with him, he's a very young player. That's the best way to sum him up. Very, very young. And on one hand, you could look at that as maybe, you know, there's positives there because you're getting a guy that, as good as he is, he's still, as young as he is, he can get better because he still has a lot of room to grow. And so you're very optimistic about the skill level and the talent that he's put on tape up to this point and how much better he can be as he continues to mature. But at the same time, maturity is not a guarantee with any of these guys. And so there is risk involved with a player like Jalen Carter and how young he is. It's going to be interesting in the top 10. I do think he goes somewhere in the top 10, and just talking to people around the league, my buddies that I rely on for a lot of information, they all kind of believed he goes top 9. And I say, well, why do you say top 9? And they say, well, I don't think he's getting past the Bears at 9. So, could we see Seattle at 5, or, is he enough of what Detroit is willing to compromise on with what they look for? Is he enough? So maybe he could go 6. Atlanta, they could be in the mix at 8. So, there's potentially some spots you could go before the Bears. But if he's on the board at number 9, when you factor in, exactly how you guys set it up with the importance of the position, with what they need, and it all lines up. Now, obviously, it's you hate to make a draft pick and then you have to hope. Faith is not really a strategy, but that's part of drafting Jalen Carter. You have to hope that the maturity catches up to the talent, and if it does, 9 will end up looking like a steal because Jalen Carter has the talent to eventually be a top 5 player at his position in the NFL.
You had this in the Beast. Will shift into cruise control at times, especially when his initial move is halted. I think it was Rick Spielman today, former Vikings GM, who said that when he looked at Jalen Carter on film, he saw too many plays taken off. I'm curious, just from that evaluation point, on film, how much cruise control did you see? How many plays did you see taken off?
I honestly, I don't think it was a ton. It wasn't a real red flag for me. I think you have to understand the context of, okay, Ohio State. There were a few plays in Ohio State tape where he was clearly cruise control. But that was also a game where he had a career high in snaps played. He had never in his life played that many snaps in a game. So, you factor that in. I believe it was maybe the Florida game where he was a little bit half speed at times. That was his first game back from that knee injury. So, I think that when you factor in some of the context clues here, it's not as big of a concern, but it was enough that, I included it in his report. It's something that honestly, we see with a lot of defensive tackles, guys that are 300 pounders, you can't expect them to go full speed every single time they're out there. So there are times where, if that first move doesn't work, I'm just going to kind of sit back, look for a passing lane, try to knock a pass down. That will happen. But it's not to a level that I am truly concerned about it holding Jalen Carter back in the NFL.
I'm just curious, what'd you make of his pro day and showing up 9 pounds heavier than he was at the combine and then struggling to finish drills?
His legs gave out. I mean, that's how one scout put it to me. He looked really good the first, quarter of the drills, and then his legs kind of gave out a little bit. And you know what? It's tough because, again, with the context of everything he was dealing with between the combine and the pro day, it wasn't just a normal regimented routine for him. And that's one thing I do, because the draft guide I create, because obviously at my core, I'm a huge fan of the NFL draft. So I create something that I would want to read. And something that I find interesting is, I include all of the height, weight, even the arm length and everything from the combine and also the pro day. And so you can, when you read a guy and say, oh, wow, he's 16 pounds heavier between the combine and the pro day. That's interesting. That's, there's some clues there. With Jalen Carter, he was, there's definitely a weight fluctuation, but his period between the combine and pro day, it was a little bit different than what most of these guys are dealing with. So I think it speaks to the uncertainty with him and the question marks, the fact that he was clearly gassed at the end of the pro day. But if you go based off of the first quarter, first third of what he was doing his drills, he looked amazing. So, it's another, piece to this that is brings a little bit of uncertainty to the overall evaluation.
So if you're Matt Eberflus and you want like high burn guys, to use scouting coaching lingo, like
Right.
to have that type of work ethic, like how does Carter maybe compare to, or I guess other 3 technique options, like specifically Kalijah Cansey, who could be there later in the first?
Yeah, and it's tough because I don't think he has that the type of motor that some of these other guys have, but I don't think it's the type of motor that you are truly concerned about, where it's like, okay, we're not going to get the most out of this guy because he's taking plays off consistently, and like I don't think it's that level of concern. And so you have to ask yourself, okay, the plays where he is firing on all cylinders, is that enough of a difference compared to these other 3 techniques that he's still worth the risk here in the top 10? And I think it is. He is that much better than the other 3 technique options in this draft, where even if he is not firing on all cylinders on every single snap, it doesn't work. It doesn't. The concern level isn't high enough that would stop me from drafting him if I was good with the character and maturity and all that. If I felt good about that, the on-field stuff would not worry me to the point where I would pass on him in the top 10.
I almost get Eddie Goldman vibes with him. Like, and they're not quite the same, like, position schematically, but just when he was on the Bears, it was like, man, when he's out there and he's healthy and he's playing, dude, he is making this whole thing work. But then there was just too many, is he in shape? I'll never forget the first, Johns, remember that? His rookie mini camp, right after the Bears drafted him, he went off with dehydration, like 30 minutes into practice. And like he
had a few dehydration days.
Yeah, and you want to give him a benefit of the doubt. It's like, okay, it's your first ever NFL practice. But then it kind of turned out like 5 years later, you're still looking at that. And I was like, actually, that was pretty significant. So it goes to speak, right, Dane, that you just, not that it's, I don't like saying it's all a guessing game, because that doesn't give you guys enough respect for all the work you put into it. But at the end of the day, you don't really know how these guys are going to handle things. The most immature player could walk in there and be like, okay, I'm ready to go and become a different person. The most mature player you might think is out there could get his first paycheck and be like, okay, I made it. I'm good.
If Jalen Carter ends up being a bust, it won't be some big mystery why, right? The maturity concerns are clearly there. But to your point, I mean, yes, there is a level of, you're betting on guys. It's a series. All your draft picks are a series of bets, and drafting a guy like this is, it's a high risk, high reward. And some players they have that tag where it's high risk. We know the risk involved, and we feel like the reward is worth that risk. But if it doesn't, and we've seen in the past where, I mean, remember when Jeffrey Simmons was coming out of Mississippi State, he was coming off an ACL. He had a really bad off-field incident involving an altercation with a woman and a female, and I mean it was a whole big thing. I mean it was a lot of context involved, but it was still out there and on video. And he fell to the mid-first round. The Titans drafted him, and I haven't regretted that for a second. He's been an outstanding part of that organization since he was drafted. They just re-signed him to a big extension. So we've seen plenty of examples of guys not work out, but we've also seen examples of these guys learn to be professionals. And that's the biggest thing. That's the toughest part of what I do, is not everyone learns how to be a professional. Some guys it never connects. They whether it's a maturity thing, whether it's a money thing, priorities thing, whatever it is, whatever their driving force is, they're not able to become professionals. And but some guys are. So that is it's an unknown that some teams are more risk adverse. Some teams have a little more appetite for risk, and they're willing to take that chance. And where the Bears are with the current state of their roster, what Jalen Carter could mean for this team in an ideal situation, it'd be awfully tough to pass on him at that point.
To fully pivot from this conversation, and this is my last question, say Will Levis is there at 9. Mm-hmm. Like, how many teams are calling the Bears, in your opinion, to move up? And how interested should the Bears be, even if a Jalen Carter is there?
The Titans are the interesting team. The Titans have done a lot of work on these quarterbacks, and I don't really see the Titans as being that part of the timeline. Like, I mean, they need a lot of help on the offensive line. They need a lot of help. Who are their playmakers? But besides Derrick Henry, like there's a lot of question marks with the Titans. But if they're dead set on getting one of these quarterbacks, and they don't move up into the top 7, top 8, that's a possibility. You look at Tampa Bay; they're kind of in quarterback purgatory right now, the post Tom Brady era. I mean, Kyle Trask is not. We haven't seen him yet, but I didn't evaluate him as a NFL starter, or at least the type of starter who's going to help my team reach the playoffs. Are the Vikings in that spot where they feel comfortable making a move to go get a quarterback? So you obviously listen to all the offers, and then when it comes down to it, maybe you tell teams, hey, we feel good about this. What the trade parameters are, we're going to wait to see who's on the board for us at number 9, and we'll let you know. And number 9 comes, if Jalen Carter's still there, you got a big decision to make. Or if you have your eye on, say it's Paris Johnson from Ohio State, you plug him in at right tackle. He's on the board at number 9, but you have a really interesting trade offer. If you feel good about the tackles, if you feel good about Darnell Wright, and the Titans or the Bucks or whoever, you're moving back 2 spots, 3 spots, 7 spots, you feel good about these tackles, that's something that you really look long and hard at. The chance to pick up an extra day 2 pick, whatever it is, and still get that right tackle that you have your eye on, or maybe it's a 3 technique, whatever it is. You keep the phone lines open, and it'd be awfully tough to say no to a trade back opportunity.
Dane, always appreciate the information. The beast is outstanding as always. I want to make sure if anyone wants to check out the entire, we went through the Bears picks, but you can also check out the entire 7-round mock available on theathletic.com, theathletic.com/Hoge Jahns. Go check it out. Go download the beast if you haven't already. It is worth the price of the Athletic subscription alone. No disrespect to all your work, Johns, but
different.
Dane, we appreciate it, man.
My work's not called the beast.
No.
No, like I said, hopefully people see it as a resource. That's what it is. So you have it open during the draft, and when the Bears draft whoever it is on day 3, the draft guy to give you everything you need to know. So hopefully people check it out.
All right, there he is at DP Brugler on Twitter as well. You're going to be following Dane throughout the draft. Dane, thanks so much.
Thanks, guys. Anytime.
Hey, by now you probably know our next partner, and it's a really cool product. Let's talk about Athletic Greens. If you're looking to get better gut health, more energy, or a stronger immune system in a really easy, natural way, you've got to check out Athletic Greens. I'm sure you'll agree that most of us are not huge fans of having to take a bunch of pills or vitamins in the morning. But with Athletic Greens, you can get rid of all of those extra vitamin bottles and finally make some room in your cabinet. Athletic Greens is an all-in-one solution, and you'll really enjoy getting your daily vitamins. So what is this stuff? With 1 scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. The special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. All of those things. Right now is the time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition, especially as we head into the flu and cold season. It's just 1 scoop and a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/Adam. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/Adams, plural, to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. All right, Johns, let's end with this. Hypothetical. Jalen Carter's on the board. Bears are on the clock. He's still there. It's number 9, but you have another team calling up. I'm not going to get into the parameters of the specifics of the trade, just off the top of my head. But let's say it is the Titans, or maybe the Bucks are an interesting team to me for exactly what Dane just said. You're going from Tom Brady to Kyle Trask, and they still Blaine Gabbert, right? I don't buy that. So I think there's going to be some teams lingering out there. So you have an offer to move back or take Jalen Carter. What would you do, and what do you think the Bears would do?
What I would do is move back. What I think the Bears would do is move back. I guess the question is how far, right? What are the Buccaneers at? And you also we forgot they have Baker Mayfield, but
Oh yeah, I forgot they signed Baker Mayfield.
so you'd be going back 10 picks, 9 to 19. It's a lot, and you would ask for a lot. But if you're a team who likes Will Levis, I think we could all safely assume he's like the 4th ranked quarterback, right? If you're high on Will Levis, you probably have to jump the Titans at 11, right?
Yeah.
That's the team you have to jump. So you're looking at the Eagles at 10 and the Bears at 9 because they have their quarterbacks. You have to jump the Titans if you're the Buccaneers or someone else. So you would ask for a lot if you're Ryan Poles. And I think that a lot would be more than enough to move on from the decision on Jalen Carter.
Yeah, I'm trying to put myself in the Ryan Poles' head, and it's just like I've kind of come full circle on Jalen Carter. Everyone knows how much I liked him, before all this stuff came out. Just the tape alone, the fit for the Bears, they need. I think that's the hardest part. Maybe they're wrestling with that inside Halas Hall too. He's what they need on defense in just terms of ability, right? But he's not necessarily a fit in terms of the motor and the maturity level. And I guess if I don't have a team calling, I'd probably draft him. But if I do have a team calling, trying to move up, especially if they're offering, like the Bucs might have to give up next year's 1st round pick. That would be a similar move that the Bears made to go up and get Justin Fields. They had to give up a 1st round pick. Then I think that's what I would do. I think I would move back. I'd take the draft capital, knowing that there's a bunch of other guys I like. And I could live with the decision knowing that Jalen Carter might go on to have a great career, justify it with all the draft capital I got, compared to you draft him and it doesn't work. Like Dane just said, it's not going to surprise anybody.
There is some significance with this being Ryan Poles' first round pick. Selecting Jalen Carter at number 9 is not the same as taking him number 1. But if they really liked them at that point in their evaluation, I don't know if they would have traded back from 1 to 9, even though we could all agree that it makes sense. Right. Now, there's no guarantee that he'll be there at 9 if you like him that much. I get that the risk feels different, but if you really like them that much and you're okay with the risk, then maybe you don't trade back as far, is what I'm saying. Because now there's a whole bunch of teams that could select Jalen Carter. If there's one thing we learn about Ryan Poles, it's that he knows how to play his leverage. Like, he played it pretty darn well with the Panthers and other teams in the top 10 to go from 1 to 9 to get the 1st round pick in the future, 2nd round pick in the future, and a number 1 wide receiver, DJ Moore. So if teams are calling for number 9, I think Ryan Poles would recognize his leverage and turn that into a lot of draft capital, which I think he wants right now.
And I think that's a smarter play long term. Because I still think you could draft, if you move back to 19, you could still draft Kalijah Cansey there, and I think you're in pretty good shape.
Or Darnell Wright.
Yeah. Get your right tackle. So, yeah, that is, I think when we're sitting there on draft night, going to be the most fascinating thing to see unfold.
Like, just to go off like the Bears, like the grading scale, you got blue players and red players. Yeah, you want some blue chip guys, but you know what? 5 or 6 red players makes your roster look a lot better too.
Sure does.
And DJ Moore was a late round 1st pick. Look how much he makes the Bears receivers room look better at this point. You know, like 1, player can make that much of a difference. And if you get a bunch of red graded players, again, going by the Bears grading scale, your roster is going to look significantly better.
Yep, absolutely. All right. We got to get out of here. And I hope everybody enjoyed the episode today. It was fun having Dane in now that the beast is out, and to go through all his picks for the Bears. The best part about the beast is really everything you can learn about those mid to later round guys that don't get talked about as much, because the scouting reports are just as in depth on Ronnie Hickman as it is on Jalen Carter. The Rocket, Ronnie Hickman.
The conductor, Kobe Turner.
We got nicknames. We got Olympic connections. It's really fun to go in there and read it all. So please check that out, theathletic.com/Hoge Jahns. Also, a plug for CHGO. I want to make sure everyone knows. I know we've talked a lot about it on CHGO, but we are going to have live draft shows on Thursday and Friday of the NFL draft. We'll be live from Joe's on Weed Street, and we'd love to see you come out and hang out with us on the CHGO Bears crew being out there. Corey Wooten's going to be with us on site too, with all his insight on these defensive linemen and offensive linemen that the Bears need from the player perspective. So it's going to be a lot of fun. You can get tickets at allchgo.com, and all the tickets include a drink package. So it's a great deal. Come out, hang out with us. Johns, I wish you were going to be there, but you have to like work and stuff. And
I'll be at Halas Hall.
Yeah.
In my cubicle next to the fish man.
Don't sound so excited about it.
I'm kidding. That did sound sad.
All right. Follow us on Twitter at Adam Hoge, at Adam Johns. You can follow the Fishman too at KFishPayne. And Dane Brugler's at DP Brugler. We thank him for coming on the show. Thanks to our producer, Kent Garrison, doing a great job as always. We're getting closer and closer to the NFL draft. We'll be back with more on Thursday's episode preview. We're going in the trenches on Thursday more, aren't we?
Ooh, look at that tease.
I think that's the plan. And the Bears obviously have needs there. So we'll talk about it then. Everybody enjoy the next couple days, and we'll see you on Thursday.
See ya.